Our first writer this evening is Dan Lopez. Dan Lopez's work has appeared in The Millions, StoryCorps, Time Out New York, Los Angeles Review of Books, and Lambda Literary, amongst others. The Show House, his first novel. Show House is his first novel, He lives in Santa Monica. Dan went to college at UCF here in Orlando, and The Show House is set here in Orlando as well. In a recent interview for Fantastic Floridas, Ryan Rivas asked Dan about his time in Orlando as it relates to the roots of this particular book. Dan's response is one of my favorite assessments of what it is like to transition from being a young writer to having larger realizations. This is what he said. Nobody cared what I had to say at 24. I didn't really have anything to say yet. And what's worse, I didn't know how to say the little that I did have to say in a compelling way. So my task for the next decade was to struggle and inch my way towards a finished product. I learned to look at people, to try to understand their perspectives, and to try to develop a broader sense of the world. Dan goes on to discuss craft matters, and I recommend reading this interview in full for that discussion. But I adore the idea of expanding one's perspectives. Much of the joy writers give to their readers comes from the experience of an expanded perspective, new minds to inhabit, new views of the same strange shadows we all see in dusty corners. I'm so pleased to have Dan Lopez here tonight. Please welcome him.
As you heard, this is my first book, The Show House. I am going to read a couple of short pieces from it. There are three sort of main narrators in the book. I'm not going to give too much away about it, but one is a woman named Layla. She's a pharmacist. You're going to hear about her first. The second is Thaddeus. He's kind of a middle-aged grandpa, pot smoker guy, and his wife Cheryl. They don't have the best relationship. And they're going to see their son for kind of a reunion. They've been having fights. And then the final is what everybody came for, the serial killer. So hopefully you enjoy. All right. I'm going to start. Few know better than Layla Morales that sleep, as a luxury, is best enjoyed by the overworked. But all luxuries expire. In the darkened room she stirs, wispy tendrils of an amorphous dream, something on a ship maybe, or in a car, or was it an airboat? And wasn't that an old colleague, a lab partner? Dissolve into her subconscious like a slick of blood diluted in water. Blackout curtains keep the sun out. Air conditioning maintains a constant temperature, but nothing counteracts a full bladder. Biology wins every time. The stir deepens, lengthening until wakefulness breaks over her all at once with a race of the heart and a sharp intake of breath. Squinting, she automatically seeks out the phone on her nightstand, dismissing unread the notifications cluttering the display. It's 10 a.m. Her first conscious thought is Alex. Her second, bathroom, now. The second, more insistent, compels her to move. She shuffles across the worn Berber, flicks the switch in the ensuite, and yawns her way onto the toilet. She scrolls through her calendar. No work today, at least. And for a moment, she luxuriates in the blissful relief of a free Wednesday. But that doesn't mean there aren't tasks to accomplish. After weeks of tracking, projected forecasts, and escalating warnings, Hurricane Natalie is nearly upon them. They'll need water, at least a few gallons each. She keeps empty jugs in the truck for just such an eventuality. Gas, too, for the truck while she's at it. She flushes and moves to the sink, brushes her teeth, gargles, spits, dries her hands. She'll need Alex's help with the shutters. That's the sticking point. Downstairs she can handle, but she doesn't like climbing ladders, so her bedroom window presents a challenge. Alex. Hers is not a large place. It's small, actually, a one-bedroom townhouse with a whisper of a screened-in patio. But it's hers, and it's enough for one person. That's the problem, she thinks. It's not one person anymore. Not with Alex crashing on her couch. Indefinitely, Layla reminds herself. 2 months in, and the arrangement still irks her. Please, Mija, it'll just be for a while, Alex's mother Esther had insisted over the phone, while Alex pressed in beside Layla, shouting obscenities at the phone. A hastily packed duffel bag slumped on his feet. Things at the ancestral home have degraded. That's how Alex put it when she persuaded him to calm down and present his side. He doesn't listen, Esther interrupted, prompting Layla to take the call off speakerphone. I don't know what to do. If your father were here. Tears prevented her from continuing. Layla didn't so much relent as embrace the inevitability. Alex was standing in her living room, after all. She weakly mustered the strength to ask, how long is a while? She'd wanted to add that she had her own life and that she liked it just the way that it was. But between her brother and her stepmother, the family hardly needed another diva. For the sake of harmony, she held her tongue. I don't know, Esther said, just until he settles down. She'd been through this before, and the parallel's not lost on her. A decade as an only child, the doted upon pride of a small, well-to-do family, the role suited her. It was enough. It was quiet. She had a routine, a life with room enough for her mother, a father, and her. Then her parents divorced. Her father married Esther soon after. Then Alex came and crowded things. 17 years later, he's doing it again. She sighs, steeling herself against the chaos reigning beyond her bedroom door, her inviolable sanctuary, meaning off limits to you. Downstairs, she expects to find a trail of discarded fast food containers, their contents half consumed, littered across every surface from the kitchen counter to the couch, where her brother's thin, naked body will be sprawled, long limbs reaching like a spider's across the balled-up sheets of his ruined web, while a snore bubbles his parted lips. Gonyo, Alex, I don't want to see your dick, man. Was it too much to ask that he put on a pair of underwear at least? Yo, why not? It's a nice dick. She finds herself smiling at the memory. How is it that Alex always manages to make her smile, even when he's being a little shit? But instead of that, when Layla descends the stairs, she's greeted by silence. Silence in a long shaft of sunlight scorching through the half-moon window above the sliding glass door leading out to the patio. The light traverses an impeccable interior before resting on a tidy couch where Alex should be. In his place, she finds folded sheets and neatly stacked pillows. How is it possible? She remembers seeing her brother when she got home last night after inventory. Somewhere around 2 a.m., she navigated the collateral damage of his late adolescence, guided only by the amber glow of street light filtering in through the blinds. Alex had been asleep and not wanting to disturb him, and let's be honest, she was exhausted, little more than a withered twig in a lab coat after 12 hours on her feet. She silently grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge and an oatmeal cookie sandwich from the pantry before retiring to her room, pausing to kiss her brother on the forehead. Good night, Boppo, she whispered. He had been home. She saw him, didn't she? Alex? She sniffs the top pillow and lurches. It's damp and redolent with a tangy mix of sweat, grease, and musk, the sharp scent of teenage boys. He definitely spent the night. You home? No answer. Though there are few places to hide, she checks them all. The half bath in the foyer is vacant, the kitchen empty, the patio undisturbed. He must have gone out, but this early? And where? And why? Alex is not one to rise before noon for any reason. She can recall only one instance in which he got up in the a.m. without a lot of hassle, the morning of their father's funeral. But that was an exception, one she prefers to not dwell on. She checks her phone to see if there's something in the long list of notifications she ignored. Sure enough, a text, going out. No further details. She counts herself lucky that he bothered sending that much. Esther never got even that small courtesy when he ran out on her, and now she's persona non grata after sending him to live with his sister. Like that's some great punishment. If anybody should be pissed at Esther, it's not Alex. The timestamp on the message reads 8:30. Something is definitely up. What does he have to do at 8:30 in the morning? It's not like he has a job. She opts with a light touch when texting him back. Cool, come home early, Kay. Need your help with the shutters, love you. She might get into it with him tonight, explain again the importance of letting her know where he's going to be and impressing upon him the merits of basic civility toward those who love and care about you. But today is her day off, and she's determined to keep it for herself. She'll waste no more energy on worrying about her selfish brother. It's 10:15, and the only thing she wants right now is coffee. So that was Layla, and this next one is going to be Thaddeus, mostly Thaddeus and a little bit of his wife, Cheryl. What you need to know for this scene is their house is getting fumigated because they have termites. The frog croak sound of duct tape tearing jolts him awake. An army moves around him. Men go in and out of the house, shouting at one another to mine plants and tend to various pieces of equipment arranged throughout the limestone patio. Some climb onto the roof where they stitch together heavy yellow tarps with a row of alligator clips, while others feed a tube under the tarp and test seals. Overnight, his sedate home is transformed into a midway, abuzz with activity. Cheryl hands him his coffee. Here, drink, she says, her voice stripped of whatever softness it possessed the night before. The doll, he asks, clearing his throat and wiping sleep from his eyes. His pipe, long extinguished, rests on the hard bubble of his gut. His entire body aches. In the car with her suitcases, she stashes the pipe in its usual place. They're just about done. We should get going. She helps him to his feet. You're sweating. I told you to come in last night. Now you didn't have time to change. I'm fine. Never better. Feel like $1,000,000. He stretches himself like an elm, scratching at the sky, and stomps his feet to get the blood circulating. He shakes his body like an earthquake, rolls his neck, windmills his arms, and cracks his back. And with one bearish gulp, he empties the coffee mug, announcing his satisfaction with a yawp. The foreman peeks out from beneath the tarp. Hey, lady, we're about to close her up. If you forgot anything, now's the time to get it. No, go ahead, she calls back. But before he can duck inside, Thaddeus beckons him. Just a few questions. Thaddeus turns to Cheryl, who busies herself returning the lounge chairs to their original positioning, mumbling something about UV and sun bleaching. Do you have the doll, he asks again. She sighs. In the car, along with her suitcases. The foreman waddles over, tossing a glance at his loitering crew. He checks something on his phone, then looks up at Thaddeus. I went over all this with your wife. What do you need? For a long time, Thaddeus doesn't speak, only stares at the yard. Hey, guy, you got a question or what? The foreman squints in the early morning sun. He's a large man, and already a tributary of sweat marks the valley of his spine. He smells of mulch and high-endurance deodorant. Yours ain't the only house we got today. Ain't even the only one we got in this neighborhood. You'd be surprised what bad shape a lot of these old houses are in. Thaddeus purses his lips. How long until we can use the pool? He shrugs. Should be fine now, unless it's broke. We only do the inside. Inside. He points at the house for emphasis. Look, I left a pamphlet with your wife. This pool, Thaddeus says. He wraps an arm around the foreman's shoulder and drags him along the perimeter. The contractor, good-looking lady contractor, couldn't have been more than 25. She wanted to charge $20,000 for it. Do you know what I told her? He grins, awaiting a response. Look, we really need to get started here. I said, no way, Josefina. Ha! He taps the foreman's joke. I could do the job myself for half that if I knew about construction. Yeah? Good for you. Like I said, I gave your wife the rundown. Just avoid going inside and you'll be good. Materials alone are going to run $12,000. That's what she told me. Thaddeus narrows his eyes. Okay, so I told her I could go as high as $14,000. Hey, $2,000's just a weekend in Vegas, right? But it wasn't enough. I have my crew to think about, she said. We went back and forth for 20 minutes. I don't have to tell you about negotiating. He gives the foreman a knowing nod. Finally, I said, $15,000. That's my final offer, and showed her the door. And what do you think she did? The foreman glances back to his crew and motions for them to seal the house. She said, you drive a hard bargain, but she took the job. I liked her style, so I said, what the hell? With the $5,000 I'm saving, I'll start a scholarship to help more girls like you go to trade school. I can't help it. I'm a feminist. When the job was done, I gave her an extra $200 for her trouble. No big deal. The foreman slips away, and moments later, a quiet hiss signals that the gas has begun to fill the house. Let's go, Cheryl says. But the limp tent sputtering to life transfixes Thaddeus. It morphs and undulates like a lava flow. Forms rise in the fabric, only to collapse as the gas reaches towards equilibrium. It's just the wind, Cheryl says, but he ignores her. His home is turmoil. Right now, poison pours over Cheryl's clothes and into Stevie's old room. Next will be the garage, or would that have been first? Ultimately, the order matters little to him. Gas will eventually coil around everything, like a cat settling down for a nap. His law books in the attic, the photograph in the family room of Stevie leaning over the rail at Niagara Falls pretending to slip, the Hawaiian leis from a family vacation he can't quite remember, entire drawers full of odd knickknacks and fading memorabilia that attest to a life well lived, tangible proof of memories made, even if the memories themselves rise more sluggishly and infrequently than they all used to. All of it, ultimately, choking on gas. But how many of the termites? He stays a while longer watching the tent. Then, with a cough, he turns to Cheryl. They'll do a great job, he says. He knows that they'll go above and beyond because he took the time to build a rapport with the man in charge. And in business, as in life, it's the relationships that matter. A fine job, he says. No problem. Cheryl looks down at her nails and taps her foot. Can we go now? Whatever you want, heart of my heart. Taking her hand, he kisses her on the knuckles, but the static charge has barely left her skin before, wide-eyed, she yanks her hand away. I may have actually accidentally touched the poison, she whispers, half apologizing. So that was Thaddeus. He's a lovely guy that you want to spend a lot of time with. And on that note, here's a serial killer, another lovely guy that you probably don't want to spend a lot of time with. In this scene, it's kind of self-contained, but he's getting ready to do his thing. What's your favorite thing to do, he asks. Trellis chains creep up the inseam of his baggy black pants, shushing like a maraca as he paces. His name is Asher. You know this because he told you at the bar after apologizing for sneezing on you, and his blue hair is spiked at irregular angles. The graying smudge across his brow indicates the dye job is recent. You watch him out of the corner of your eyes as he, in passing, taps a purple fingernail against the surface of the table in the breakfast nook before moving on to the living room. With each stride, he abuses the hem of those hyperbolic pants with the heel of his black boots. It can be anything, he says. He's congested, and as he speaks, he presses the meat of his thumb against his nostrils, first the left side, then the right. This does not, however, deter him from scrutinizing the living room. He touches everything, then scratches the skin of his torso and arms where it's exposed, which is everywhere, because his white tank top stretches so low in all places that at any given moment you can see the metal rods traversing his nipples and the unfinished snake tattoo crawling across his rib cage. You just move in, he asks? This place is empty. You say that you're in the process of selling the unit and that everything is staged, which is not entirely a lie. This is a stage of sorts. He nods. You imagine that he's searching for some indicator of your personality, to determine if you're the kind of trick willing to call the police if he robs you, perhaps for the money to finish that tattoo. But the house divulges nothing. Nothing here is personal. If he were to open the drawers, he would find them empty. This is not your home. It's nobody's home, merely one in a string of subdivision platforms from which to launch your work. And tonight, Asher is your work. Aside from the fact that by sneezing on you, he invited a certain level of retribution you would have loathed to pass up, you chose him because the manner in which he presents himself represents rage and rebellion, which is what you want tonight. At home, the situation is stymied, but as you mix him a drink of equal parts bourbon and soda with just a splash of GHB, you wonder if perhaps you acted in haste. His questions betray a desire for intimacy and, by extension, a yearning for inclusion that is anathema to your mood tonight. He finishes with the living room and moves on to the kitchen counter, where he languidly flips through the crisp pages of a home design catalog. Like for me, my favorite thing in the whole world is snowboarding, he says, but it's hard to do in Florida. Sure, you say, and hand him his drink and a tab. One dance at back booth and the promise of ecstasy was all it took to get him to come home with you. Now you're here, and he's a wounded fish blindly swimming, easy prey. He thanks you and leans over so that his chin rests on the counter. Then, affecting what he must consider a coquettish gesture, he flicks a surgically forked tongue at you and asks, "So what's yours? My favorite?" Leaving the kitchen, you sit on the couch and beckon him over. That's easy. It's Asher. He washes down the tablet with a hearty swig, then sneezes. God, sorry, I can't taste anything. Your smile is coy, practiced. Bless you, you say. For a while, you chat about nothing. This is the part you enjoy the most. All the pieces are in place, and what remains is some casual conversation and to wait. When he begins flexing his jaw, you know that the ecstasy has taken effect. That's your cue to tease his fingers with the smallest wisp of a touch. He's got gorgeous, robust fingers, the skin freckled and almost translucent, the way it often is with natural redheads. Lean in close and whisper, "I'm gonna rip you apart." You're funny, he says, and curls into you, his spiked blue hair poking your abdomen. The red is still noticeable at the roots. You have no idea, you say. He finishes the last of his bourbon, then turns with a wink to face you. His hands caress your thigh and your arm. He rubs his back into the suede couch cushions, and he laughs. You know what would be great right now? Music. Let's dance. Doesn't it sound great? Sure. His eyelids droop. You palm his smooth chin and wrap your hand around his sweaty neck. When you kiss him, you taste the bourbon on his cracked lips. His forked tongue curls around your teeth. Then he snorts, and you detect the metallic tinge of antihistamines and a small drop of his mucus. He breaks off the kiss in a nervous giggle. Sorry, he says, my nose is just pulsing with happiness, I guess. No big deal, you say. Then, taking his hand, you lead him toward the bedroom. Come on. He doesn't protest. You both strip. Then you sit him down on the edge of the bed and tell him to wait as you slip on just the pants from a pair of scrubs and head to the shower. The first one was a skittish volunteer at a hospital, squeamish at the sight of blood, who came to the club straight from his shift. You had no protocols for your work then, only a vague notion that something had to be done and that you were the one to do it, so you were imprecise. You've kept his scrubs all this time as a reminder to be more objective, which is what you're attempting to be with Asher, but his blasé attitude and innate appeal weaken your resolve. It's important to wash. Like sharpening the knives, showering protects you. And as you lather and then rinse, you study the way your honed muscles move in symphony, swelling and contracting beneath your skin. It has taken 3 years, but now this is no longer a body. This is a tool. Smile into the mirror, then smile again until you get it right. You must get it right. He waits on the bed, desiring you, wondering about you, wondering perhaps what he will tell his friends about you tomorrow, because it would never have occurred to him that he wouldn't be seeing you tomorrow. You feel the heat of his lust radiate through the walls, and it puts a smile on your face, which, upon inspection, appears natural. You've been gone only a short while, but when you return, there's a different energy in the room. He's wearing your discarded shirt and scrolling through his phone. Your backpack, which you had hidden in the closet, is open at his feet, and he's holding a pacifier. I got cold, he says with a grin, and your closet's empty. I hope you don't mind. The pacifier isn't his. It's yours, and it's her favorite one, the one with the picture of Minnie Mouse. You should kill him right now for his forwardness. Instead, you shrug and endeavor to remain aloof. Here, you say, handing him a tissue because you don't want his snot on the comforter. He stares at the tissue for a moment before absently placing it on the nightstand. Turning the pacifier over in his hand, he examines the chipped picture of Minnie Mouse, her dress worn away at the edges. Cute passy. Gritting your teeth, you snatch it from him. Yes, you say. A vibration starts in your hands. Whatever empathy you felt earlier evaporates. He's nothing, doing nothing, fighting nothing. That's cool, I guess. Sniffling, he wipes his nose across the sleeve of your shirt. Leaving the backpack unattended was careless, and now he knows more than you were willing to share. The important thing, though, is to not allow this mistake to derail the work. Everybody fails, but it's how one learns from those failures that define a person's character. So, he says, you do ecstasy a lot? Not really. Oh, so then you just love Disney a whole lot. He pounds his fist into his open palm and hops up and down the bed. Do you have a hidden shrine to Mickey Mouse or something? He's giddy with the ecstasy and finds all of this hilarious. Your palms throb. Massage it. Take deep breaths. When you're calm, you continue. Not exactly. Then what? He bites a lip and his eyes widen. Oh my God, do you have a kid? Your patience expired. You tell him that ecstasy is the thing, then stash the pacifier in your back seat. The banter, or perhaps the heady cocktail of drugs he's consumed, arouses him. And kneeling on the bed, he prowls towards you, the snake on his side slithering beneath the gauzy cotton of your shirt. See? His backside slides out from under the hem. That wasn't so hard. He emphasizes the word hard. Clutching the front of your scrubs in his fist, he squeezes. You take a deep breath, close your eyes, and prepare. Let's say we get these pants off, doctor. Accompanied by a chorus of sniffles, the pimples on his cheeks arrange themselves into a greasy grin. He nudges into the front of your scrubs, adding his scent to yours, compelled, as all men are, to mark his territory. But he has no claim here, and your scent is only laundry detergent and soap. Look, you shout. Let the color drain from your face and contort your features into a mask of fright. Point frantically at the blank wall behind him. Confuse him. Look, look! Like a dog obeying, he crawls around to face the wall. What? He asks, his voice groggy with chemicals. The longer he stares at the featureless expanse, the more desperate your calls become and the more sluggish his reaction. You would like to toy with him some more, to extract a few more ounces of frustration from the moment. But your hands are on fire, the tendons pulsing under the skin. You simply can't wait any longer. Woozily, he rises to his knees, keeping his back to you all the while, as he searches the wall in vain. I don't see anything. He exhales in a long stream. The thick veins in his neck pulse. Are you playing with me? An electric shudder passes through your entire body, and grinning, you crack your knuckles, leaning in so that he can feel your breath tickling his hairs. You whisper, "Look closer." "I don't want to," he says. He's tired of this game and has turned to whining, but it's almost over for him. Your fingers encircle his clammy neck. He won't have to play for much longer. He closes his eyes, and you can feel him go limp in your hands. What should I be seeing? That's it. Thank you.